That's right, kids. Atma here. And if there's one thing, there's just one thing you need to put in your deck. It's Smuggler's Copter, apparently. So, I don't actually think this is the best deck. But talk a little bit about black-red aggro. So this is kind of a deck that was based sort of on something that was decent in standard. Basically, the whole thing is just it's like mono red aggro, but it has two black things. There's this activation that gets us back from the graveyard, and there's Unlicensed Disintegration, which does 3 damage to controller, and it's murder with 3 damage to controller if you have an artifact. And the artifacts, I mean, in standard you just run 4 Smugglers Copter, 2 Key to the City, and 2 Fleetwheel Cruiser. I mean, it's pretty close. The real problem is it doesn't have like 4 of these guys, and it doesn't have 4 of Pia Nalaar. But nevertheless, this is it. I tossed a Renegade Freighter in here as kind of just an extra vehicle, and it's just supposed to be aggro. You know, usually people only run Goblin Glory Chaser in the decks that, you know, use pump spells and stuff. But the thing that's nice about this is it's fast, it can pilot Copter, it can pilot the Freighter if you get it up to 2, so it's decent. It's not as good as Inventor's Apprentice, but just need a couple more 1-drops. And once again, the standard version has 4 copies of Bomat Courier. This, against the slower deck, sometimes just like draws a bunch of cards for 1 mana. But the last thing I want to note is about I just want to say there's a couple other replacement creatures in here, you know, because you don't have 4 Pias, so it's just like this haste guy's decent, and this guy will draw a card some amount of the time. So that's kind of what that's all about. The funny thing is, like, Key to the City is actually one of the best things because it gives you the reach without having to have burn, just by being able to push things through. And also, drawing cards is surprisingly amazing when your curve is this low. And Avacyn's Judgment usually is just 2 damage, but there's a lot of times where it'll do 4. And that's pretty good. Chandra is usually a sideboard card, but we're going to main deck it because we don't have enough things, and it's a threat. But I did want to talk about Galvanic Bombardment. So Galvanic Bombardment is better in this deck, but the first one doesn't kill the Copter, and that's a bummer. So when I'm building... when I'm playing the blue-red spells deck, I actually swapped out all the Galvanic Bombardments and put in Fiery Impulse, because in that deck, where you play so many spells, Fiery Impulse is it's much more reliable that your first Fiery Impulse will do 3 damage instead of 2, which is really important because Copter kills you like pretty quickly and early in the game. So not being able to, like, having to draw the second Galvanic Bombardment is very frustrating, especially in a deck like this, where it's often dead because you just can't kill that Copter. Like, this deck's too fast, it closes out too quickly, and it allows your opponents to kill you quickly because you're just attacking. Anyway, I don't usually like aggro decks like this because they're kind of all in. It's the type of deck where you just give up when they stop you, or when they gain like 6 life. Like if they pull some Marasa, you just lose. Like, I hate playing those types of decks. But yeah, let's get on to game 1. Well, it took a little bit to get a game, so I had to edit a little bit. Anyway, so I was going to put a couple videos before this, but I was having some trouble with the video editing program. It wasn't saving the files, so just trying one more time here. I think this will work this time, though. I did some updates. This hand is actually slow, but it's not bad, especially since our opponent's mulliganing a little bit. Like, this is just going to be a 1-2 for a while unless we draw exactly what we need. And what we need is Copter. Of course. You always just want Copter every time. Because it's ridiculous. Basically, every deck that has any amount of creatures, aggro, mid-range, but any reasonable amount of creatures, you just play Copter every time. The only way you don't is if you're playing control, like blue-red spells or Esper control. This is actually a good draw as well. I'm going to play the Smoldering Marsh first. Since we're going against red, we're bound to have some stuff killed pretty soon. Unless they're playing like... Well, it's hard to speculate off one mountain just yet. They could be playing a Radiant Flames type deck, which is also pretty annoying. Oh, red Eldrazi. Usually I'm the only one playing red Eldrazi, but... Okay, so here's a Haste guy. We'll probably get something killed here. Twin Bolt would be the worst. Spatial Contortion wouldn't be so bad. Even if they kill the Bomat Courier, I don't think I would want to get rid of this particular hand just yet. Not unless I had mana open. And I definitely want to play Fleetwheel Cruiser. Our opponent could have something like Radiant Flames or... okay, so it is green. So... Red, green, colorless. You don't see that too often, that's for sure. Bomat Courier. I think we actually just want to play this Avacyn's Judgment and play this other Bomat Courier. There's a lot of upside to not playing the Avacyn's Judgment right away, but... We're getting to the point where I'm willing to get rid of this Fleetwheel Cruiser in order to draw 3 cards off this other Bomat Courier. If we get our entire board killed here by a Kozilek's Return or something, that would be pretty awful. Can't deny, but I feel like him playing this 2-2 makes me think he doesn't actually have that, but you never know what they could draw. So they have left. I'm just going to play it out because it's basically over anyway. Yeah, so Fleetwheel Cruiser is what I would jam here. And that's what happens. Like, this deck wins in a hurry. And I will see you in game 2. But I want to note, this would draw me 4 cards and discard Fiery Temper, so I get to do 3 damage and draw 4 cards. That is actually insane. Game 2. I do want to note that it's possible that running a couple Thopter Engineers might be worth it. They're kind of like a Pia Nalaar, and I think it's probably correct, but I went with the additional 1-drops instead, the Goblin Glory Chaser, and we'll just see if that's right for a while. When I make these decks, there's usually no hard line on exactly what you need to have in the deck, unless it's something super synergy specific. Sometimes those Delirium decks are pretty tight lists, particularly the Teamer one from last season that I posted about. So this has no artifacts, but it is our turn. One thing I've noticed about this format is that when you get to go first to Copter, first to win usually. When you have Goblin Glory Chaser and you go first, that's usually a good sign that you're going to have a Menace guy quite quickly. They could have something, but it's unlikely. Usually the only thing that stops this turn 1 on the play is an opposing Goblin Glory Chaser, or in the same deck, just a Galvanic Bombardment or something. I do want to play this Inventor's Apprentice, even though it's a little awkward. Just because I want it attacking for 2 with key to the city on turn 3 here. So it's a little mana efficient, but we get paid off with a little bit more damage. That's what aggro decks are all about, is front loading damage, so things like Fiery Temper get you there late. And the combo of discard Fiery Temper, 3 to the face, give something unblockable is an effective thing. I also think playing Key to the City next turn instead of Abbot is better, just because you usually want a couple extra mana on Abbot. And now that he's played a 2/2, it's even more.
Go, Gadget Copter!
That is actually even better than Key right now. Because he's just going to take 4 damage. People that play this particular landfall creature usually want to attack with it. Usually your opponent will telegraph what they're going to do against aggro decks. So if he leaves up all his mana or whatever, it means he's going to try and kill this Copter. If he plays something, then it means he has nothing to deal with it. Red-green aggro is usually an energy-based deck, so they usually have that energy-based burn. If he leaves guys back here, it means he's a little afraid of dying, in which case I'll probably just Fiery Temper his guy. Alright. He thinks he can race, which means he probably has like a +4/+4 type of burn spell. I'm going to play this Key instead of this Abbot pre-combat, because I'm going to discard the Key to Smuggler's Copter and see if he tries to block this 2/3 and pump. And if he does after I discard, I want another discard outlet for this Fiery Temper. So it seems counterintuitive, but I want to test his metal and blow him out. I'd rather get a 2-for-1 and offer a block if he wants it. Than just push through damage, because I want hand knowledge more than anything else. We also drew an excellent card in that we have a 2/3 now. He's getting to the point where even if he plays Explosive Vegetation here and swings for 8, that he's he's just like dead on the crackback. Because we'd have exactly 10 if he was to play Explosive Vegetation and swing for 8. Opposing aggro decks that aren't as fast as us is something that you feast on. I do think decks like White Humans or White-Green Humans that has a bunch of first strike guys can be a problem. Like, you definitely have to have Copter and Key to the City in those matchups at some point, or it's a little too rough. I'm not going to block. If he can somehow do enough damage here, more power to him. Let's see what he's got. Sure. I may burn that thing. Alright, so I can play this with haste. And I can discard Fiery Temper to kill this. That's not enough damage. What if I didn't kill this? 3 in the air. 1 is blocked on the ground. 7, yeah, so if I go Fiery Temper to the face, I win. It does make more sense. Oh, I just fucked up. God damn it. Well, now I can't do that. That's very frustrating. That's very frustrating. Wow. Wow. I used control too, but I left open the wrong thing. It's hard to see. Wow. We actually had the win there. Now I'm just gonna block because that was an error. That's... Oh god. I guess I had the win because I drew this thing. Yeah, it's pretty awkward. Whatever. I'm gonna keep this mountain just in case I need this fiery temper to survive. If I would have attacked with everything, I would have won anyway because I drew this mountain. Whatever. I'm confident that it'll work out anyway. I do want to be clear that that was a win right that second. If I had the mountain open, like if it had tapped correctly, you just attack with everything, and then he blocks one thing, 2 more damage, he goes to 3 fire temper to the face, he goes to 0. But we had to do it the slow way. We actually have to fiery temper on his things to not die, which is actually funny. That just goes to show how close all these games are. You know, like, every game comes down to that exact type of decision. Like just having the fiery temper last turn was everything. Even though it's not everything technically. Like, you know, we won anyway, but just the fact that, like, if we didn't have exactly this thing, it was awkward. Like, you need to win when you can win, is what I'm saying. Anyway, on to game 3. I think that they changed the way that they matchmake in this update, because it's been taking a little longer to matchmake recently, but I do notice that I get matched against people of my level all the way up from 1 to 40 much more consistently. This is a decent hand. And we're on the play. If you're wondering why I don't have card backs, it's just like out of laziness. You know, I bought the full arts and I bought all the card backs, but I forgot to put them on. You know, I don't know. It was just laziness. I do think that this
Go, Gadget Copter!
Copter, jeez. I do think that this meta is very draw dependent. By draw dependent, I mean draw or go. Like, if you get to go first, you're much more favored to win, because there's a lot of aggro matchups, and even against the control matchups, getting to get in one more swing before they languish or one more swing before they planar outburst is almost everything that matters in this whole thing. Yep, that's a big stone wall, but we do have the Copter, so we can theoretically just kill it. I don't know if it's worth it, but it might be. I think it probably is. I usually like to fiery temper to the face and galvanic bombardment things, but that thing gets a little too big, so I think we'll kill it. Hopefully he'll play something with 2 toughness next turn that we can Galvanic Bombardment. I think I'm gonna do more videos. I haven't been doing them lately, but I think I need to. Maybe I'll do one a week again. Reflective Mage is one of the best cards against this deck. Really slows us down. Copter. I think it is good to have a second Copter here. The only thing I don't want to flip over is Galvanic Bombardment. I'll feel compelled to use it. Oh, it was Chandra. That's pretty awful. Okay, so we lost the Chandra. I kind of want to pitch this Galvanic Bombardment, but it might need it. He may be afraid of a Titan Strength or something, but... Ooh, that was an amazing draw. Yeah, I'm going to pitch this Bombardment. I actually want all of these other things. I know it seems like I could have just killed this thing, but it's not necessary. Not when you have double Copter. If we draw a land, we can just win next turn if he taps out without bouncing our things. Alright, this makes me a little concerned. Makes me not want to Avacyn's Judgment. I think he's gonna... I'm going to not do it. Because I think he's going to flash something in. Alright, well, I'll just take the win and move on to the next game. I guess he was afraid. We were pretty close anyway, almost no matter what he did. But yeah, since this is going pretty fast, on to Game 4. Alright, Game 4. This is going to be the last one. Because you're seeing, this thing just wins fast. It's your typical red aggro. The only thing that's unfortunate about these games that I've played is that, and it's the same opponent, the Bant, is that I haven't been able to show the power of unlicensed disintegration yet. See, this is Copter, no creature, and our opponent is going first. This one is decent. It's not as great on the draw. See, these are the type of matchups where, you know, he's playing Sylvan Advocate. Being able to play Sylvan Advocate is very strong against something like Goblin Glory Chaser that just doesn't do shit unless it becomes Menace. Like, if he was to play Sylvan Advocate this next turn, we're in trouble. If not, we're doing okay. But if he was to play it, it would be quite bad. He's got another tapped land, so we lucked out there. Decks like this also punish decks that come off slow. I don't usually like playing aggro, but particularly Copter and Key to the City gives us a lot of gameplay that's pretty fun. Like, you get to draw, you get to madness. Stuff like that makes it a little more fun than the infectious bloodlust red aggro that everyone's used to. And I want to talk about Fleetwheel Cruiser while it's in my hand. Fleetwheel Cruiser is incredible at killing planeswalkers. They just do whatever they can, but then you just Fleetwheel Cruiser their planeswalkers, 5 trample haste. Even if it dies, like, you trade up, or you at least trade even a good amount of the time. This is a good enough threat to where I would have no problem trading it with Speedway Fanatic. The question is, do I Pia Nalaar and by itself, or do I key an Inventor's Apprentice? I actually think I key an Inventor's Apprentice because if I want to make Fleetwheel Cruiser unblockable to kill a Gideon or something, that's better. With key, you don't always have to discard a Madness card, even though that's super good value. Sometimes you just need to push through 5 damage with this thing. Call it a day. Tamiyo. So Tamiyo is just dead. Yeah. So he tries to protect Tamiyo. It's not going to work. There's actually an argument here that could be made for just Fleetwheel Cruisering to get this to 10. I think I hate Tamiyo enough. I mean, I would love to just do 5 damage for free. Yeah. This may be a mistake. It may actually be correct to go to the face. Because I feel like the Tamiyo minus play was a play to buy time for like an Avacyn or something. Or the worst yet, Planar Outburst. Although in my Bant tempo list, I don't actually play that card. This is another one where I have no problem making whatever trade. Ooh. I was going to make trades, but now I'm just going to kill stuff. I could just make this unblockable. I'd rather kill his things, I think. Yep, we'll go for the 2-for-1 here instead of going to the face. 8. Yeah, it's better to just clear the board because we got a bunch of stuff on board. Well, do I clear the board? I want to clear the board. We'll go to the face. We'll see how that works out. I was mistaken. And then when this comes untapped, I'll pay 2 to draw 2 cards, or to draw a card. Now we're just a Fleetwheel Cruiser. Like if he taps out, we can just make a Fleetwheel Cruiser unblockable and win. Yeah, so the game is over right here. Because he is tapped out. Oh, unless he has Fog. Untap. So he has 2 mon. I guess Fog gets there, but pay 2. Yep. So I'm going to use this. Right now. That'll take one of the possible things he could have off the table. Yeah. And that's it. This deck is very fast. It's very strong. It is a rank 40 deck. There's a few things you can do to get there. I'm going to try and do, you know, like 2 decks a week or a deck a week or something. Some of the other rank 40 decks just for fun. This Gruul Energy deck is pretty strong. I think Red-White Vehicles is better than Mardu Vehicles, but I've made Mardu Vehicles. Green-White Midrange and Bant Midrange. I'll show you these lists later, are still strong. White aggro, I haven't played it much, but it's still great because it was by far the best deck last season. It's still great. And Is It Spells is probably one that I'll do next, and you guys can take a look at it. Post in the comments if you have a preference on one of those decks that I just listed. But the first one of the season is just the one that you'd expect, just the fastest Copter deck in the format. And here it is. I mean, just one little scan. I'll post the deck list below, and hope you enjoyed the video. And I hope you enjoyed the Go-Go Gadget Copter meta. Atma. Next time you'll see me. Kreider out. I don't have a catchphrase like Kreider, man. Speaking of Kreider, I played him twice this week. Dude beat me by like 1 life both times. Fucking guy. Fucking Kreider. Anyway, till next time.